back to Online Darts. It's that time again. It's been a while, mate, so our diaries haven't aligned, but we've got 10 minutes or so. Well, we say 10 minutes now, or rock into a 40-minute job.
Yeah, well, we've both been sort of working on the same projects and been so busy doing them, and yeah, we just haven't had a time for a good old catch-up.
Yeah, first of all, we're going to go to your game, down in Yeovil. Played some good stuff, and we saw the old compare on you because that hurt, didn't it, against Leonard?
Yeah, it's that thing where it sort of takes me back to where it all started and where it ended, really. I mean, it was a good game. Fair play to Leonard. He just about did enough. I felt like I was competing. It was only 10-9 in legs in the end. A little bit unlucky on the double 13 in the corner going for the double 4, which reminded me of a game against Steve Beaton in the Grand Prix many moons ago. But yeah, I was annoyed afterwards, which shows that there's still a fire burning in there somewhere, but it's just so I've not picked up my dart since, which is terrible, really, because I absolutely practiced my nuts off for that and gave it the attention that it deserved, because it's incredible to be invited to those events, and it was a brilliant event, fantastic venue. It's a shame we couldn't pick it up and maybe put it in Birmingham or somewhere like that. But yeah, another great tournament, and yeah, fair play to all those involved, because I know they were so hard behind the scenes.
And we spoke to you after the World Championship, and you were like, "No, I got it wrong. Didn't go enough." Did you felt ready going into this one?
Yeah, more so. I had a bit of a scare against Trina. I mean, she played fabulously.
2 sets, oh my.
Yeah, I couldn't really get anywhere near her, so I thought, well, if you carry on playing like that, then fair play to you. You deserve to win. But I just sort of dug in there and draw on the resources I'd had through the preparation I'd put in, because I had practiced really hard for that. I put in a lot of hours, and it paid off. So I sort of know the formula, and come the World Championships in February, if I'm invited, I will be ready.
One question that gets asked a lot: are we going to see you on that stage downstairs again? Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I was asked. The problem is, as you know, we're the same. We're constantly, if we're not down here at the Super Series, I'm usually doing something for the radio or something for ITV, and my schedule for the next 2 months just don't allow me the time, and I can't do it to myself, going cold with no practice and just try and sort of scramble through it. I know I can still play at a high level. I didn't do myself any justice, really, even as well as I played against Leonard Gates and Trina. In practice, I'm still performing at a much higher level. I don't think there's anybody doing anything in that seniors that I can't do or not currently doing in practice when I do practice. So I want to win one of those next year, and that's my plan. My personal life's changing slightly. I'll probably be doing a little bit less of this and a little bit more playing, because I want to have one more year at seeing what level I can actually get to, because I'm still very capable of sort of hitting 100 average on TV, I think, and if I can do that in a seniors event, I think I'll go very close, and I want to win one.
So it's giving you the bug again, because I remember when you first rocked up downstairs for that week, it was like, just a commentator, and I'm gonna enjoy it. But since then, have you got the bug a little bit?
Yeah, I think I practiced so hard going into that Masters that at times, and the guys I practiced would tell you, I was just unplayable. And they were like, my God, how can you not play when you can still play this well? I've got no aspirations at all of ever turning pro again or anything like that. But what the World Series has given all of us is an excuse to become competitive again. And it's a great environment. It's not like, cockerels walking around like it used to be. We're all there to try and entertain and also put on a bit of a show. And I don't like losing at anything. And yeah, it's just given me an excuse to get back on the board. And like I said, my circumstances are going to change over the next month or so, which will allow me a lot more time on the board and a lot more time to to sort of dedicate myself to it. I'm curious. I'm curious of, what is left, and could I win one? And listen, winning one of those seniors is super tough because the standard is incredible, with great players in there that all seem to be improving a little bit. So I'm going to have to play catch up. But I think between now and Christmas, more so from October onwards, I'm planning on doing probably around about 10 to 12 hours a week, and I'm going to start playing more tournaments because I'm going to give myself more time to play. Introducing
yourself to a new audience as well, because obviously old folk like me remember Mase the Ace at the Lakeside, but a lot of the younger generation just know you as Chris on ITV or here. So just giving everyone a reminder, look, I used to be good at this game.
Yeah, I had a lot of people when I did the European tour over in Leeuwarden for the PDC, and a lot from a much younger generation talked to me about the Super Series and everything else. And then at the Matchplay, a lot of people approaching me go, I didn't even know you played, but watched the seniors masters. So that's quite interesting, and a lot of compliments. I did give it absolutely everything in that match, and didn't really get out of it what I'd hoped. But that's all you want, is a bit of respect here and there, and people to enjoy what you do.
Touch on it there. Since we last spoke, you have done a PDC Euro Tour. How much did you enjoy that?
Yeah, I loved it. It's the Euro Tours are my favourite things to watch at home. I rarely miss a dart of them. I absolutely love seeing the new faces you get through for the host nation qualifiers, and then watching the evolution of the new players taking on the big guns of our sport. And it rarely disappoints. I absolutely adore it. I loved working with the production crew. They were absolutely outstanding, and the new technology involved. Love learning about that. And of course working with Murph, which I've done a lot of work here with, and getting the chance to do some work with Dan Dawson, who's mad as a box of frogs, but my God, there isn't anything he doesn't know about that Euro Tour. I didn't need Google when I was working with Dan.
The World Cup of Darts has happened. I know we've spoken about it away from here.
Well, we've been going on about it for the last 3 years.
Transitions to all pairs has happened, and after that weekend, there's no way back, is there?
No, I remember us doing a video probably well before
18-19.
Yeah, 18-19. Everyone was no, it's brilliant. The singles, it's not as good as the pairs, and well, fortunately for us, the PDC is that continuous evolutionary product that it is, or brand. They eventually thought, right, let's try pairs, see how it goes, because the pairs matches early doors always create the most drama, and then we've seen the difference in the dynamics, positively and negatively, with Belgium, which was hilarious to watch. But ultimately, the pair that had the biggest bond and played as a team walked away with the trophy again.
Yeah, on that Belgium thing, have you ever seen anything quite like that, where a pair physically wouldn't speak to each other or acknowledge each other at the start?
No, even sort of, when you play in pub leagues, you have to play pairs. It's usually sort of 3 pairs and 6 singles, depending on what league you're playing in. And you don't always get on with everybody in the pub. I've never seen anything like that. I'm glad they sorted it out for themselves, and they threw some great darts. And the performance from Poland was remarkable, with that 118 odd average. Was just so special to watch, and it's something that we don't see enough.
I'd love to have been an earwig into that conversation that happened after the game, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, the thing is, all fun as all joking aside, you've probably got your sports minister of Belgium tuning in to watch that, and of course darts is growing, and they want more darts. They want more TV darts there, because the numbers are incredible in Belgium right now, and he must have had his head in his hand thinking, what are you two doing? It's an advert for Belgium and Belgium sport. So
Barry as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, Barry wasn't happy.
Also, New York. We wondered, could it be better than last year? And oh my God, look, New York, America is a huge, huge place. But to take it to another level again this year, it feels like for the first time in a long time, there's a foothold in that territory.
Yeah, and I think it's twofold really. The extra eyes Fallon put on the sport, because the Americans just took to that. You had some of the most influential people on television talking about it, and then obviously on the back of that, the Michael Smith, Michael van Gerwen final, that incredible leg, the fact that Michael Smith and other players have been on some high profile shows that do millions of numbers in America. The Americans seem to say, listen, American people love sport, but darts was very much seen as sort of a bar game that, you know, maybe they hadn't seen enough of. You know, we maybe didn't get enough of the right kind of eyes on it. The exposure it's been given over there now, we're getting a different set of eyes on it. And yeah, it's taken off, and long may it continue. I mean, there's so many places in America which are already established. Boston, for one. I'd love to see a tournament there. I think it would be bigger than the one in New York.
From there, Poland. Oh my God. Now there is a hotbed of darts.
Yeah, and an untapped one. We didn't know. You think you got Chuk and Białecki, and you think, well, how would they have sort of embraced the sport? But I was speaking to Gary Plummer from Target, and he was saying over the past few years the market there for equipment has just gone bonkers. And I suppose the PDC will look at the viewing figures, because obviously the darts is sold to the broadcasters in Poland, and it made sense to put it on. And what was it, sold out in
9,000 tickets in under an hour.
59 minutes, it's completely sold out. Remarkable, and well, we'll be back.
I think we'll have a Euro tour there as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We'll have 2 events in Poland next year.
Yeah, and so it should. They responded. They responded in their viewing numbers on television, and when we asked them the questions, they put bums on seats.
That spell from Michael van Gerwen on the Sunday night, is that the best version of him you've seen since 17, 18?
Yeah, that was great to see, and incredible to think what he's gone through in terms of the surgery he's had. I've seen pictures of it, and I don't even know how he's playing, never mind play like that. But sometimes that little bit of a distraction, and I don't mean a non-genuine excuse, but just sort of, look, if I don't play very well, I don't play very well. Pressure's off. You know, I'm amazed he played. Never mind played to that level. And yeah, listen, I've said this for the last couple of years. No one player will dominate this sport, because there's too many good ones now.
There is, but is he probably the only one that, look, they all say if I play well I win, but is he the only one that genuinely, that if he plays his very best, that level he goes to, if he's there, is he the only one that when he goes to that place you don't beat him still?
Yeah, quite possibly, because I can only think of someone like Peter Wright in his absolute prime that is able to go to a level and hold it. He did it in that incredible final against Michael Smith, of course, where he just goes on this run and reels them off. And I mean, they're all capable of doing it. The problem is if, say, a Luke Humphries did it against a Michael Smith, it isn't the same as doing it against Michael because of that reputation. What we don't see from Michael frequently enough now is the silly averages. You know, the 115s, the 118s, the 117s, the 112s. I'm not saying he doesn't have that in the locker. It's just not frequent enough to make him the dominant player. Is there a case? Is he the best player in the world when he's on? Yeah, but I can say that about Gary Anderson. I can say it against Michael Smith, Gezi Price, Johnny. You know, just the list is endless, and not great for Michael. But listen, he's still young in dart terms. Who knows what's around the corner? But I always say, I think he dedicated his whole life to it, and now he has a different perspective, I think, on life. He's very wealthy, and rightly so. There isn't a box he's not ticked in terms of this sport. Was he on 150?
I'd say there's one, if I'm being picky.
Go on.
He's never defended the Worlds.
No.
Phil did. Gary did. I think in the back of his head, that's
slightly
the one he might like to tick.
When Adrian did it and Gary did it, and of course when Phil did it, a completely different era.
I get that, but I think that the fact that they've done something he had, you know how his mind works. If
I can't see anybody defending it.
It'll be a tough ask. If someone does it, fair play to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, look at that period with Peter Wright and how well he was playing, and he couldn't defend it. I think it's hard for anybody to defend the title now, because again, it's just that pool is so deep, and then there's another pool behind them, not too far off the pace. It's nightmare to be a player, but an amazing time to be a fan. And luckily enough, we obviously were
the best seats in the house.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that.
Matchplay has been, and it's gone, an incredible tournament that had drama from the off. I wouldn't say it was a classic in terms of averages, performances, but it just gripped us for those 9 days.
Yeah, I don't tend to get emotionally invested in something that I'm not personally involved in. But getting to know Nathan over, I suppose, the last 10 years or so, and knowing what he's been through, and look, that story of, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago?
20 quid left in his bank.
20 quid. And someone had to put something in his bank to make it up to 20 quid to get it out. I mean, that's just, what a story. If you were going to write a film about darts, write it about Nathan Aspinall, because that is just such a rags to riches story with a real feel-good factor about it. And I was absolutely, I couldn't have been happier to see him win it. I'd loved, because of the circumstances with Johnny and his father, who sadly passed away, may God rest his soul. That would have been perfect. We've seen it so often in sport, individual sport, where a tragedy has been an inspiration, and it would have been lovely for him to have dedicated to his father. But the fact that in those circumstances he made the final, I'm sure, that was more than enough. But an amazing tournament. And again, although it lacked those big averages, I think Ryan Searle had the highest average of the
506, somewhere around that mark.
But how many were in the late 90s and early tons? It was probably the best match play for me ever. Just because of the story and the build up to it, and how the tournament panned out. I'm pretty sure there wouldn't have been too many people who had a punt on the Johnny Clayton Nathan Aspinall final.
Well, that brings me on to my next point. The fact that the top 4 in the world all fell early, yet the tournament still delivered on every aspect. Does that just show what a place the sport is in right now? Exactly that, which is another reason why I think that will become the norm. I just think it's so strong. That top 32 has never been stronger. And that was sort of with a slightly misfiring MVG, a slightly misfiring Gezi Price gone early, Michael Smith. You imagine when we have a tournament in the next few months, and we got some biggies coming up with the Slam, the Players' Championship finals, the Grand Prix, and then World Series finals, European Championships. We are going to see one hell of a tournament coming up. I can't see a tournament not delivering. A couple of players from the match play I want to talk about specifically, that I think they put some demons to bed. Joe Cullen came back to life, and Chris Dobie put, in terms of results, a disappointing Premier League behind him. Performances were good, but you're judged on results, obviously. Those two in particular really stood up to be counted, I felt, in that match play. Yeah, and I think when you look back over the years, some players that have had terrible results at the match play, I find it hard, because these are the players that play the leg-on-leg match play format, whether it be Players' Championships and Euro Tours, and they deal with it perfectly. But for some reason, the match play does strange things to players. It's got so much history there, and it's, for me, the second most important tournament on the calendar, for me personally, because of its history, because it was dominated by Taylor. It's called the Phil Taylor Trophy. There's tournaments that carry more prize money, but are they as important as the match play? I don't think so. I think behind the World Championships, that's the one the players want to win, and that's just not my point of view. You ask the players, and they'll tell you this is the one to win. Well, you still get that warm fuzzy feeling when you get to Blackpool. You see the tower, then you see the Winter Gardens. It's like
Yeah, it's the second oldest tournament in PDC history, and it just carries that credence and respect from players, because they know it's the purest form of the game. It's one of the, outside of the Worlds, it's one of the toughest to win.
Women's World Match Play. Bo dominated the field. A couple of points. We'll do Bo first. Congratulations to her winning her first one. Played some super stuff, but was never really in any danger at any point.
Well, I recall one game.
Well, again, Robin had her at 3-all, but the afterburners.
But then I think Robin missed one dart at a double, and then she took out a ton and didn't see her. She just literally went through the gears, and she's very much like a Luke Littler, who's playing this week. This is Champions Week, of course. He seems to have that switch. He can just switch it on. It might not be there all the time. And incredibly, she just dominated another series of women's series events. I mean, there is the odd game where she doesn't perform, but her B game is just so far ahead of the vast majority, and the women's game's playing catch up, of course. Listen, it's not too dissimilar to the dominant days of Taylor, is it? Where you read people's comments that all the players in Taylor's era weren't really that good, and you're like, no, he was just so much better, and she's just so much better than 90% of the field.
On the women's game, the standard on the women's series has been incredible, but did the women's series live up to what we were hoping for? And I personally don't think it did. And does that highlight the fact that these women have not had a lot of TV exposure recently, and they need more? The floor game is there. We can see they can produce that, but they need more opportunities to prove on TV.
They're under massive pressure to justify the investment, not just by Sky, but by the PDC. They're throwing a ton of money at this, and it's a little frustrating when you see the numbers. But they are playing catch up. Remember, it's not that long ago women weren't allowed in working men's clubs. It was women's darts were sort of scorned upon. So, if you think of the evolutionary process of how long men have been playing, and I'm not going to get involved with the physical differences or anything like that, but we've seen Fallon produce monstrous averages, Lisa do it, Bo do it, of course, Trina, Dita, Makuru. So they've been not necessarily thrown in the deep end, but they will feel the pressure. They want to prove to the PDC and to the viewers that they're a product to run alongside men's darts. Not that there is men's darts in the PDC, because there's no such thing. But I think it will take time. I'd like to see them have another event, maybe tagged alongside other events. I think there's a scheduling for it. I don't know. Maybe you could.
Grand Prix, perhaps.
Yeah, you could do a small, like an 8. Maybe do a Grand Prix and do a women's match in between. I'm sure they could schedule it. It doesn't necessarily have to be the early stages of the Grand Prix is a short race anyway. Just to give them more stage time and more time under the lights. Because I don't care how much talent you've got, until you learn to play under the lights, you need to do it. You can't practice. You can't practice shitting yourself.
Love that saying still to this day.
You just can't.
On the women's game, do you think they deserve places at the UK Open now as well? The same as the Challenge Tour, the Dev Tour. Do you think there's a genuine case to offer the women's series dedicated places at the UK Open as well? Yeah,
I'd do away with the Riley's qualifiers. Obviously I don't know the financials, but you go in a Riley's and they're not fit for purpose for certainly running qualifiers for such a established event. I would look to do something with the ADC if I was the PDC. their tournaments that they put on, their big events. I think there's one in Bristol this weekend or next weekend?
August or something.
Oh, right, yeah. But I've seen the ones that they put up north and all around the country. Yeah, I'd let the ADC find our next group of qualifiers, and I'd certainly reduce the amount, maybe by a couple, that the Challenge Tour and the Dev Tour get, and then I'd probably put in the top 8 women. Why not? If they're good enough for their own standalone match play, I think they should. It's another reward. They're getting in the Slam now, and the Worlds. And again, it would just give them more stage time and more time playing against men, because I should imagine ultimately that, you know, the top women players want to get on the Pro Tour.
Just picking this back up, on the ADC, huge strides they are making, and not just in the UK now, that this is a movement, isn't it? This is a huge statement to everyone else that Steve and his team have put together here, that this is good things happening at the ADC right now.
Yeah, if I was in the or part of the WDF governing body, I'd be really concerned how a new company has been so innovative and has created such a stir in amateur darts, something that the BDO hasn't done for decades, and certainly the WDF can't seem to sort of get right now. I think it's incredible what they've done, considering it was very much an acorn that's turning into an oak tree, and it's exciting. Everywhere I go, people are talking about it. You've got things like the level up, so for the lesser players, they're not sort of
one game and you're out. You've got opportunities. The vaults are unreal.
Yeah, the vaults, they're creating opportunities, of course, and then it's an avenue for new players to experience the Super Series, which I keep saying, first 3 years of my career, these guys are getting more TV time than I did in an entire 3 years, probably 5. And that can only be a good thing if you've got ability and you're trying to fast track and get to the top quicker, which you can do nowadays. Playing ADC and playing the Super Series is the way forward.
I know you listen to a lot of our stuff. The one we did with Steve made me laugh, where he said the other organisations' negativity towards us has been off the chart.
Yeah, and I would take that as a compliment. And this has been a long-standing issue with not just the BDO but the WDF. Remember, the BDO were just a promotional company. The WDF it's always been the WDF World Championships. It was promoted by the BDO. They were a promotional company. And there's always been that bitterness towards anybody that wants to do something to take the game forward, even going back as far as early 70s, because there was, of course, the NAGB that was almost forced out. Well, they were forced out of the game. Was it the NDAGB or something like that? Anyway, I can't remember off the top of my head. So it's not a new thing with them. They're just, rather than embrace a revolutionary idea, they'll completely sort of try and silence it and just go against anything else. And it's sad. And that's what caused all the problems with the WDC and the BDO back in the day. And it's like, do people not learn? You know, like, work with them. And listen, the ADC are keen to work with the PDC. You know, down here at the Super Series, we're keen to try and do some form of collaboration to get more players from their system involved in this, not just for our benefit. I'm sure the people that run this can, you know, I think we're up over 330 different players now who have taken part here. They can just continue to go on, but it will benefit players massively. We can see how it benefits those that have played a big part in the Super Series who've gone on to get tour cards. Year 1, I call it a coincidence. Year 2, not having it. Year 3, was it 70% of tour card winners were regulars at the Super Series? It works, and it's a benefit to the PDC system. And I hope at some point that they will give us All right, not necessarily 65 to 128, but maybe 97 to 128. You know, they use players that are not tool card holders, but and ultimately the players will not necessarily revolt, but as we've had this discussion before, if you're just starting out, is it beneficial having a tool card? For some players, that's not the case anymore. They're just going to burn money for a year where they try and learn. Where here, they can earn while they learn. Instead of earning with Hearn. Earn with Hearn.
On the WDF, the news that I guess we all kind of was expecting, no Masters this year. How much of a blow is that? One, for the organisers themselves and their credibility, and two, the players that have gone round Europe and the rest of the world for these ranking points, spending a lot of money, and have now basically had a wet fish to the face.
Yeah, for the last 2 years. I mean, they ruined the event as soon as they changed it to legs from sets. So now it's lost its history, which is something that it was known for, like the News of the World was known for its format. The World Masters was known for that format. They don't know what they're doing. You know, listen, I'd like to call myself friends with a lot of the people that are involved, but they obviously don't know what they're doing. If you cannot sell and get sponsorship for an event of that prestige, the oldest tournament currently in darts, then I'm sorry, you're again not fit for purpose. You obviously don't know what you're doing, because if you'd have said to Barry, "Oh, do you want to win my World Masters?" Yeah. Oh yeah. You ask Matt Porter, God, yeah. You imagine it's the oldest current tournament in history. It's been going since the early 70s. You know, it outdoes the World Championships in both codes, obviously. And and it's sad. It's, you know me, I love the history of the game. So to see a tournament of that prestige, with just look at the names on that trophy. Look at the players that have made the final. And how much coverage it used to get. You know, it was one of the few ones that were actually live. Yeah, sad, but it sums up that world of darts. So, you know, they've not had a World Championships for, when was the last one? Neil Duff, he's got to be the longest reigning world champion in history.
Yeah, April 2022?
Yeah, that's not had to defend it yet. So all those players, and instead of just putting your hands up and going, right, we messed it up, we're going to have to start our ranking system. You got players now that ask me, do you think I should play in this tournament? I don't know. What does it qualify you for? Is it qualifying you for next year or the year after? You can't have you can't run especially amateur darts. You know, we're in a cost of living crisis. People are borrowing and stealing on the hope of qualifying for the WDF World Championships with that one opportunity of making life-changing money and winning a massive tournament that could change their lives, and that's just not the case anymore.
On that World Championships, we see there is a date, and by all accounts, ticket sales have gone well.
They have gone well.
We've gone well so far, but is there a worry that in all these briefings and statements that they make, we're now in August, there's no news on a TV deal, and more importantly, the players have not got a clue how much money they are playing for, and the tournament is vastly approaching here. Is that a concern, and are you actually worried that it happens right now in terms of the prize money? So look, tickets are going well, so that's great, but the prize pot was 300 grand last year. Right now, do you think they play for anything near that?
Well, I've had a look at the ticket sales and how much that amounts to.
115?
Yeah, so they're £185,000 light if they're going to pay out what they said they were going to pay out last year. Sadly, Bob Potter, who was a massive supporter of the BDO, and Ollie, there's no way, and now he's sadly passed away, that I think Barbara will burn £185,000 in sponsorship for an event that the vast majority won't stay at the venue. Where does she get her money back? You know, sponsorship is all about, you know, making it pay for itself. So I just don't, and she's not a particularly big fan of the game anyway, which amazes me even more that it's happening. But they shouldn't even be doing this. They've had years and years to establish a new venue and encourage new sponsorship, encourage TV deals. But of course, during that period, you had the other buffoon running it, who run it into the ground, and now, of course, the whole thing went belly up. And I mean, I don't know how, but it's still operating under some guys. I mean, it's just a mess. And if you've got an opportunity to do a clean slate, which is what they should have done when the last World Championship got cancelled, you of course invite your winner, the runner-up, and the semi-finals, as they has done for many years, and you say, right, we're going to start a new ranking review. Sorry, what can we do? You don't just make it up as you go along, because now you've got, you know, it's not like people weren't disgruntled with it to begin with. Now everyone's just pissed right off with it all because they've spent thousands, and what are they getting in reward? You know, it's not like they're playing down the pub on a Monday night in a Monday night league. People have travelled. You look at people like John Scott. He travels everywhere to try and qualify. Well, how's he going to get his money back? Or he's not been given the opportunity to get his money back. You know, look at Wayne Warren. What did he end up picking up? 20 odd grand.
25 grand.
Yeah, it just doesn't change when you sort of give them the benefit of the doubt, and you know, you have hope that something positive will happen. You know, there's another announcement or there's not an announcement. You know, they just obviously don't know what they're doing. And like I've said to you before, the reason the PDC worked, because Barry brought in industry experts, and if they couldn't do the job, gone, get someone else in. Can you do it? Yeah, right, you stay. And that's why all of Matchroom's entities are successful, because they've got the best in the industry doing the job that they're paid to do. And unfortunately, the BDO was held up by volunteers for many years that did everything for nothing, but they're not experts, hence it fails.
Obviously, you've worked in TV a long time. Have you heard any rumours if there is a TV deal happening or anything like that?
Well, there isn't currently. And of course, with the merger of different networks, obviously there was no existing contract, which again, there was a relatively long-term deal, but several breaches of contracts, and that's now gone. So they've had to start again, and I think that may be the stumbling block. But look at Channel 5 that did the seniors event. Staggering numbers. So the appetite is there. So what do you do on the back of that? You approach someone from Channel 5, offer them a package. And it's quite simple. You give it to them for nothing, which is how all of these things start off. But you can then sell spot advertising space, because you can see what kind of numbers. If the seniors do them kind of numbers, how much do you think a World Championship would do? It would do a couple of million, and a couple of million is worth a nice few quid. Certainly enough to sponsor the event in its entirety, but nothing ever happens. Listen, Eurosport it's okay, but it's not going to work in terms of, you know, it's like the snooker. It goes on several different platforms, but the World Championships,
free swear.
That's where the big bucks are.
Back here, Luke Littler, you touched on him earlier. We have seen some remarkable things from this young man in the last few months. We had a 9 data from him at the development tour. We've had 118 averages and whatever. You've seen a lot in the sport. How good can this boy be? And do you think we are looking at a generational talent?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's certainly up there with Michael van Gerwen, who I remember seeing at 15 and 16 years of age. I always say, look, if you're good enough, you're old enough. But I sort of see things that do worry me a bit, and if I wonder if he is, I don't want to say mature, but just ready. I'd probably hold him back a year, and let him develop more. There's no rush. I don't know but of course the modern mentality is we want it and we want it now. We want it yesterday. I certainly wouldn't hold him back a year because he's not good enough. But the mental rigors of being in that Pro Tour are brutal. And I've seen older, more experienced, mentally stronger people almost get ruined in that environment. Just think back of Michael Smith playing in the Premier League, Wes Newton, loads of other players, Andy Hamilton. You know, the pressure is intense, and I'd hate to see a talent so unbelievably good be destroyed because of being impatient. Like I said, if not the best I've ever seen at 16, certainly in the top two.
Well, as it stands, he's on course to be at Alexandra Palace and win that tour card through the development tour Order of Merit. Mm-hmm. Excited to see him at Alexandra Palace and how he performs? Yeah,
I'd like to see him in every tournament somehow, but I wouldn't want to see him have to go through what we see a lot of players go through on that Pro Tour, because it's brutal. It is brutal, and I don't know if at 16 he'll be 17 next. I mean, he's only just 16, isn't he? I'm not sure if he could mentally listen. He's had it all his own way. He's dominated the JDC, hasn't he? But it's like comparing apples and oranges. And when you can't dominate, you then question. You then sort of, well, can I do this? And as soon as that element, look at Leighton Bennett. You know, another generational talent, one of the best I've certainly seen at 12, 13 years of age. Now he's having with the pressures that came with all the expectations, he's having to rebuild his career now, which fortunately, from what I'm seeing and reading, he's slowly getting back into the swing of things, starting to win at a certain level, and he's got to climb back up that ladder. It's like throwing someone to the wolves, isn't it? It's a lamb to the slaughter. It's, you know, what he's doing, they're doing every weekend, multiple times. And listen, he could go in on a Saturday and draw Gezi Price round one, get beat Sunday, go in and get MBG or Michael Smith or Luke Humphries or Damon Etta or Johnny Clayton, or, you know, the list is endless. And how much of not living up to that expectation could he take before he then started to question his own ability, which he shouldn't, because he is unbelievably good. But I just worry that we should all have a duty of care. You know, we've got the same thing with Bo. You know, she's you know, when I remember everyone talking about her at 14, 15, and that's pressure. And ultimately, what happened to her? She got the yips. I think it's hard. I think it's one for his parents to sit and think about and talk with him. I think it's something that the PDC already should be sitting him down and talking with him and talking through and just getting. Listen, they can't stop him, but you would hope him as a person and as a player would listen to advice. I mean, he may well go on and take to it like a duck to water, but I would be fearful, because it's a snake pit.
Absolutely, it's nice to hear that, you talking about it in that way. Also and
his own mental health as well. We got to remember he's a 16-year-old boy.
On the Dev Tour, Wessel Lyman has returned from his suspension. A couple of bits on that. One, are you surprised how well Russell has returned so quickly. And two, there's a lot of people out there that saying he doesn't deserve a second chance, but he served his suspension. He's done everything that was asked of him. Now he has to go and be allowed to play again.
There must be a lot of perfect people in this world, eh? They must be perfect. Never made a mistake in his life. And if you care enough to comment, go and find out some of the details and why he ended up in the situation he ended up in, and the fact that he not only instantly held his hands up and explained everything, he also has voluntarily taken part in creating awareness videos and information to other players that might fall foul of people that will ultimately blackmail into you to make you do things that you don't want to do. He served his time. He's done his ban. What, should he be banned for life? Should he be stopped from? You know what I mean? Behave. It's like, and it always comes from people that have no experience in anything like this. And like I said, everybody must be proud. I'm chuffed to bits for him. Good luck to the lad. Fabulous talent. Like I say, he's endured the embarrassment of what happened to him, the shame on his family, and he done the right thing. After what happened to him, he ultimately did the right thing. And good luck to the kid. I hope he makes millions.
If you've come through this young in your career, you can go for anything, can't you?
I can't even imagine how he felt on that first day walking in that room and knowing what people have said about him and their opinions they've had on him and the comments they've made. He's shown some big stones.
Kahunas.
Yeah, massive. And that took some guts. And again, if you've not been through anything like that, self-inflicted or not, credit to him. He loves the sport. Obviously, he loves the sport. The hours and dedication he put in and everything else. Yeah, he made a mistake, but it's nothing's ever as clear cut as what you think. Hence the reason why he wasn't banned for life. Hence the reason he got banned for the period of time he did get banned for. Look at the recent scandal in the snooker. Look how long they all got banned for. And again, it was a totally different thing. I've seen things about John Higgins. You know, when the newspaper, News of the World, did that sting. Did he do a bent game? No. Did he receive any money? No. So why ban him for life? Why? Because he thought about it, or he said it could be done? All right. That's like saying I could commit murder and then locking me up for life. You know, while we sit down and watch films about people murdering each other. Great, yeah. Yeah, we live in a weird world. Technology has been brilliant in some aspects, but it's also given everybody an opinion on something they know very little about.
Mate, we've done an hour, so I will let you go get some food because I know we've got a double session here, mate.
Cheers, pal.
Absolute pleasure to pick your brain as always.
No worries, mate.